a lot of corners are being scored from this season. Fewer corners, fewer goals from direct free kicks nowadays.
Yeah,
obviously, they're lying players under the wall. Then that enables everyone to jump. Very few goals going from direct free kicks compared to in previous seasons. So, but I guess by the end of it, as Roy said, by the end of the season, it'll be a similar number to normal. But I do think corners are becoming possibly more important, and as I say, maybe free kicks less relevant. But there will be somebody that's analysing this and thinking, right, we're going to have to do something different now to gain an advantage in a certain thing. And I think the free kicks, direct free kicks from the edge of the box, are the next thing to be changed. I think there's not enough goals going in from them at the moment. I think that'll change soon.
Well, our man Chris is analysing it, as you would expect. 80 corner goals this season, which is down on this stage last season. Only 7 direct free kick goals all season in the Premier League.
Yeah.
OK, so corners are down as well?
Corners are slightly down.
That's fascinating, because they have made all the headlines, haven't they? Especially with Arsenal.
And I think that's what you were alluding to there, wasn't it?
It's still quite a... Even if the percentage stays at a third, or just over a third, that's still an awful lot of goals.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're... Especially if you're conceding from them, you know, or having a good spell where you're scoring, it's going to make an enormous difference, because 1/3 of all your goals scored. Goals are hard to score, as Michael knows more than any of us. You know, to have someone who can get those goals for you, either through free play or from set plays, that's going to make a hell of a difference at the end of the season. You know, the last time, my last period at my last season at Palace, we conceded a lot of goals from corner kicks. Far too many.
So Chelsea did get them, and what do we think about top 4 at this stage? The youngest starting 11 on average in the Premier League. Are they above where people expected them to be at this stage?
I would say either just above or par. I think if you're expecting them to be second in the league at the moment, you're probably expecting a little bit too much.
But given the chaos Enzo Maresca walked into when he walked through the door.
Absolutely. So I think, in my eyes, I would say, casting my mind back to the start of the season, would I expect that? Yeah, I think they're slightly overperforming at the moment, doing well. 4th in the league. If they finish 4th in the league, I think most Chelsea fans would have snapped your hand off at the start of the season. Doing well, as you say. It's a young team. It's going to improve. I've really been impressed with this man. He had so many players. It must be such a temptation to mix and match, keep everybody happy, but you don't get any continuity. I love the way he's just gone, this is my squad. You're not playing. In fact, I'll have a bit of a European team. Now we're getting to a bit of a transfer window. I'm going to get rid of 3 or 4 players just to prune the team a little bit more. And I've really been impressed with the way he's done it. Yes, it's hard on some, harsh on some, but that's just the way it is. And it's a lot easier to manage, I would guess, than having 25 players that you're trying to keep happy all the time.
Because we had Frank Lampard with us before he took the Coventry job. And when he went back in that interim spell and he didn't have any power, he said, I was walking out on the training pitch with 31 players. He said, it's just an impossible situation.
And 20 of them knocking on his door saying, why aren't playing?
Of course. No, I agree entirely with what Michael was saying. I think that's a very good summary of the situation. I think 4th place is very good, and I think it is important not to have too many players. You know, I know that people think it's good to have lots of players, but, you know, they don't know what it's like to be in a situation where you've got to manage those players. And, you know, it's a harsh job being a manager, in the sense that you know that every week you're going to disappoint more players these days than you actually make happy. I mean, in the past, when it was really 15, 16 people competing, you were disappointing 5 or 6, but now you're probably disappointing 14 or 15. You know, you have a constant stream knocking on your door, and there's so little you can tell them when they come in. Why aren't I playing? Well, I can only play 11, basically. That's all you can say.
Yeah, you run out of excuses after a little while, I can imagine. It must be difficult. But then again, you get the flip side when you have a small squad and you get a few injuries, and all of a sudden you have to rely on the kids or players that you don't want. So there is absolutely a balance, I'm sure, but I think I would agree with Roy. If I was going to go into managing, I'd probably err on the smaller squad than the bigger one.
But they've got a good foundation here to push on, and as Michael says, if they can finish in the Champions League spots this season, that's been a good season for us.
They'll have a good chance of finishing in a European spot, won't they? Because I think the European spots are going further and further down. You know, you're going almost to 7 now to be able to say we're going to play in Europe next year. You want to be in the big league, of course. You want to be in that top 4 or possibly 5. But I think that they'll be satisfied, and I think everything Michael said about the youth of the team and, you know, the job that Maresca's done in trying to sort out what his team really needs to look like, he deserves a lot of credit. And this was an important win tonight, because if they hadn't have won this one tonight, it would have been more games without that win.
And it just feels a lot more settled, doesn't it? It just felt like there was a headline all the time.
There's no noise coming out of Chelsea.
No noise coming out of Chelsea at the moment. It's all sort of feels like a settled club. I think the manager should take a lot of credit for that, the way he comes across in his interviews, as Roy said before the game. You know, it just feels like a much more settled club. And it's felt like a circus for years and years and years now. So I think Chelsea fans will be pleased with that. And yeah, I think the signs for the future are promising.
OK. And he faces Pep again now on the back of that on Saturday at the Etihad. That's why it was important, I guess.
Yeah, but I thought that was a very fair analysis of the game, a fair summary. He's a very calm man. I think that's quite important, really. He obviously doesn't get that carried away. He's not jubilant there. He's you know, cold-bloodedly analysing the performance. He's obviously satisfied and happy. Every 3 points you get in this league, every victory should be celebrated. That's one thing. If ever any young coaches watching this programme today, if there's one thing that they should bear in mind, don't ever think you shouldn't celebrate your victories, because, you know, if you don't, the defeats get even harder when they come your way.